Hey y'all, I'm Angie. Welcome to my channel where I do stuff. If you're new here, thank you for joining me. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. In today's video, I'm going to be making a resin coated tumbler, kind of the Yeti style. I'm sure you've seen them before. They're all over the internet. And I decided, what the heck? I have resin. I love using resin. I should probably use resin more. So I decided to make a tumbler. And I had resin left over and some other random silicone molds. So I also made a license plate frame. It's not the final one. Like, this was just a test. It doesn't look right. If I put pigment in the resin, it would probably look a lot better. But anyway, so the mug, there are lots of different ways to do it. I have read and watched and experimented extensively, and the mug that you see today is like a test kind of thing. It's the design on it, like the composition design, is awful. It is visually unappealing, but I used like 4 different types of vinyl. So I just kind of wanted to see how they would behave, you know, as I poured the resin and everything. So I realize that it's not beautiful, but you know, it's my first one and it's a test. So, you know, I guess with that, let's get into it. You will find yourself doing this quite often, but the very first thing you should do before anything else is make sure you wipe down the tumbler completely with some rubbing alcohol. Since I didn't want resin and glitter all the way top to bottom, I decided to make a margin around the top rim and the base of the tumbler. And the best way to do that is by using electrical tape. But don't make the mistake I did and do not use Dollar Tree electrical tape. I don't know if it got hot or, you know, if it's just bad quality, but it was almost like double-sided sticky tape, because even after I took it off the roll and put it on the mug, there was sticky side up as well. It was awful. Go ahead and just spring for the 3M or the Scotch brand and be done with it. After you get to the end, make sure that you cut off like an extra, I don't know, 2.5, 3 inches and fold it over onto itself to make a tail, because you're going to want to remove that before the resin is completely dry. So make sure that there's a tail to make it easy for you to grab on and pull it while it's still turning. I ended up cutting the bottom little strip off of the stencil because it was so hard for it to keep its shape while I was trying to apply it. And as you can see, I tried doing it with it laying down, I tried doing it on the cup turner, and eventually it was just easier for me to stand the mug up on the countertop and do it that way. I don't know why I didn't just do it that way in the first place, because all I had to do was push everything down and then make an adjustment where the 2 ends meet up. Since the next part included the spray adhesive and glitter, I wanted to make sure that all of the rest of the tumbler was covered up so that I wouldn't get spray adhesive or glitter on anything where it wasn't meant to be. I got the LocTite 200 because that's all they had. All the tutorials say to use the 100. Mine worked just fine. I think the only difference is the hold strength, so get what you can find. My glitter came in a Ziploc pouch, so I put it in an Old Spice container so that it would make it easier to sprinkle on the tumbler. And it was super helpful to sprinkle the glitter over a paper plate so I could just fold it in half and dump all of the unused stuff back into the spice container. So this is going to take 2 coats of glitter, so after this coat you're going to wait for 30 minutes. I use the paper plates to cover the loose glitter so my air conditioner doesn't blow it anywhere because it is super fine. And after your second coat of glitter, you're going to let it set for an hour. Here's a pro tip from someone who ain't a pro. Use a lint roller to pick up loose glitter. If you don't want glitter going onto other parts of the mug, make sure that you tap it really hard on the counter, use a soft brush, rub your hand over it, do something to get off all the loose glitter. Otherwise, when you get to the resin part, you will end up rubbing loose glitter all over the tumbler. Not a lot, but some. Then you'll take your polyurethane spray and do one coat of very good coverage and wait for at least an hour. Next, you're going to want to unwrap everything off of the tumbler, the electrical tape, the stencil if you used one, all of the paper towels and painter's tape, everything. Since you want everything to be sealed in with resin, you're going to take your electrical tape and put a new margin on the bottom again, except you're going to go just a little bit below the line that you made last time. So there will be basically like raw cup between the glitter and the electrical tape, because that will allow the resin to go over the glitter and flat onto the cup before it stops. And so you want to make sure that you have that edge sealed in. And of course, you want to wipe everything down again. I have a clear shelf liner put down on my island countertop here, and I also have silicone project mats. That's the purple and blue mat that you see. I've got two others that I use, and I just love them. So if you're gonna ever do any kind of resin stuff, I highly recommend these because the resin just pops right off. I also have this silicone mold for a license plate frame and thought, why not pull it out, and whatever resin I have left over after mixing up and using what I need, then I'd pour it in there and see if I can make this license plate frame work while I'm at it. If you're enjoying what you're watching so far, make sure you give it a thumbs up because it really does help support my channel. And don't forget to follow me on all my socials. I am slowly migrating everything from Etsy to my own website, so that's going to take a little while, just so you know. So here's what I learned as I was pouring resin onto this tumbler. First off, you absolutely have to know the work time of your particular resin. Now, mine is 40 minutes, so I had plenty of time to mess with this tumbler before I had to worry about it getting too thick and starting to harden. Another thing is it feels weird because the tumbler's moving and you feel like you can't get the resin exactly where you want it, and just don't be in a hurry because it is turning, so you will have plenty of time to continue pouring, and just make sure that you are slowly wiping the resin all around the tumbler. Get those margins, the areas around the electrical tape, get those really well because you want to have that really nice crisp line and a good seal. And don't put too much on. I know that sounds kind of maybe counterintuitive, but you want the layer of resin to be very thin. You want it to be as smooth as possible because having to sand this stuff is a pain in the butt. So you're going to want to keep it as smooth as you can. So after you make sure that you've gotten it all inside the glitter really good and you've wiped it all over everything, then you can take your finger and kind of, I'm not going to say scrape necessarily, but that's kind of what you're doing. Scrape the resin off of the tumbler as it's rotating and kind of just like scrape your finger back into the cup that you poured it from. So you're getting off the excess resin, and not only will it be smoother, but it will dry a little bit faster. You're not going to have bubbling or pooling or fish eyes going on, and it's just going to give you a better overall end product. When you're done pouring, let it rotate for 30 minutes. Then you're going to come back and remove the electrical tape. If there's any bleed through with the resin, you can get it off at this point with either a Q-tip or a folded up paper towel and some alcohol. It needs to rotate for a minimum of 6 hours, and then if you want to take it off and place it somewhere dust-free for 12 plus hours, you can. I just let mine continue rotating the whole time. I don't know what happened to the footage of me putting on the vinyl, but that's what I did. You also need to check and see how smooth your tumbler is after that first coat of resin, because if it's too bumpy, it's going to look bad when you put vinyl on it. So you may have to sand it down, which is no big deal, because even though it gets all cloudy looking, as soon as you put that next coat of resin on top of it, everything's just going to be totally clear and shiny again. Before you pour your next coat of resin, you need to make sure that you reapply your electrical tape. Make sure that you leave a tail so that you can pull it off again. And you're going to put the tape back on the exact same line that you had it on last time. Then you'll pour your resin and scrape off the excess the exact same way you did last time. And like before, let it rotate for 30 minutes. Then you're gonna pull the electrical tape off. And then you're gonna let it continue to rotate for a minimum of 6 hours. Then if you wanna remove it and let it sit somewhere in a dust-free environment for at least 24 hours, you can do that. I continued to let mine rotate for about 12 before I pulled it off and hid it away for several more hours. Then I poured the remaining resin into my license plate frame again. You can see that I am layering some vinyl in between, and I also sprinkled hollow glitter all over it. I also had a silicone ice cube tray, and I decided this would be a great opportunity to use them for test cubes, basically. I was able to fill up 2 of those, and I used a liquid pigment color in one, and I used a pearlescent pigment powder in another, and then I can number them. And so as I continue making these test cubes, I will have a physical, tangible product that I can have a correlation with a list and say, okay, well, number 1 here turns out looking like number 1 in my hand. So as I progress with making resin projects, I will have basically an already done palette of the pigments and the colors and the dyes and the inks, so I know how they're going to turn out. The test pieces came out of the ice cube tray perfectly. I really like the way they turned out. They're great. But the license plate frame was giving me some trouble. Like, it demolded just fine except for this one small place, and I still don't know why it stuck or why it didn't want to come out. I ended up having to use an X-Acto to cut just the smallest amount of the silicone to get it to come out, which is fine because this is a test piece as well. I didn't even fill it all the way up with resin. I don't even know if it will fit an American license plate. So, I mean, the dimensions said they were correct, but I didn't take the mold outside because I don't want to get anything in it. But I just wanted to see how it would behave and if it would work. So, you know, I could see myself making more of these. I think it would be really cool. So, you know, maybe I'll take custom orders. Well, y'all, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you did, maybe you'll consider subscribing, because I would really like to see you back here next week when I do more stuff. Bye!